So I just press record button, and again, I want to welcome you all, and I'm so happy today to be speaking to you and to be speaking and welcoming my friend Simon Haas, who is the author of the Book of Dharma, Making Enlightened Choices, which I've recently featured on the blog and explained how some of the elements that he talks about in the book make up the foundation of the Dharma Code, the Dharma of Design. Um, I've known Simon Haas as a monk, as an editor, as a very kind and knowledgeable person. He is a teacher of yoga philosophy, of Dharma, a Puranic storyteller, so to say, archaeologist of ancient wisdom. I'm going to have you explain that yourself in a little bit.
Sure.
Um, and he's also coming to Amsterdam in August to do a workshop, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I just want to just let you maybe introduce yourself in a few sentences and how we got here to doing what we're doing today.
Well, I'm really excited to be here and to have this chance to discuss the teachings of ancient India with you. Um, my my interest in the teachings of India started off with archaeology. Like many young children, I was fascinated and interested in discovering treasures. I don't know if you've ever heard of Schliemann. Schliemann was an archaeologist, a German archaeologist he had read the Greek classics like the Iliad and the Odyssey. At that time, they were considered just to be stories. So he thought there must be some historical truth to these classics. So he formed a team, and they went to what's present-day Turkey, and they discovered the foundations of Troy, the ancient city of Troy.
Mm-hmm.
He believes he also discovered Agamemnon's grave and so on. So I read that, and from a young age, I've been reading the classics of India, ancient India, like the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and I thought this is an area that remains largely unexplored. So I began studying. I started learning Sanskrit, and over time, my interest shifted. So rather than looking for artifacts buried in the ground or in the Indian Ocean, I became really interested, and my focus shifted to the teachings of ancient India. I could appreciate how powerful they are.
Yeah.
And eventually that led me to India and to study under my spiritual teacher for many years. I lived in India for about 10 years altogether. And some of those teachings, of course, are the teachings of Dharma, various principles relating to Dharma. The Dharma Code is fascinating. It's a set of 4 principles that have full potential. So those are truth, purity, non-violence, and discipline. And we'll talk more about that, of course, in our conversation. And my uh, I feel my purpose is what wakes me up in the morning every day is to share these teachings in a way that is deeply relevant, interesting, and gives value for contemporary readers and audiences.
Oh, beautiful! Thank you. Like wonderful introduction. I could not have said that any better, of course. So I'm very excited again. Like we're talking um, these days a lot about the soul shine branding, and in the work I do, which is design, branding, and marketing, is to help craft a message that is authentic, that is truly coming from the deepest essence of a person, and to express it in a way that's visually eloquent
Wow.
and relevant, beautiful, but also truthful and kind, compassionate, understanding. And if it's done well, we can also detect the discipline in the execution of the design, and truthful and pure in terms of expressing or sharing information that's helpful for people, ideally to find their own dharma. that is kind of like intuitively how I've always described or done my work in working with clients. Now, when I came like back in contact and started working with Basanta recently, and we've showcased him on the website, he explains beautifully about the your brand being your heart's song and how to learn to sing it. I've found it so beautiful. He refers to the Dharma Code a lot. His work, his system is based on the Dharma Code. You are the author of the Book of Dharma. So I'm very interested to hear more about, and from yourself, about the Dharma Code and how the Dharma Code helps us. Of course, we apply this in design, but how does it help a person in this life? What is the Dharma Code, the Dharma Principles? Maybe you can explain that briefly.
Well, I just want to say first, I love the work you're doing, the work that you and Basanta are doing. I'm a huge fan, and I love the way you are integrating integrating principles from ancient India into design. These are actually principles of yoga. So truth, purity, non-violence, and discipline are the two most important yamas and niyamas in yoga. They're especially important for making choices, and that's what the Dharma Code is all about. Choices are so important. I mean, in our society today, we put a lot of emphasis on increasing our skills or increasing our knowledge, but not so much into improving the quality of our choices. Now, choices are so important because really, what is our life but a series of choices that we make, a series of yes and no's across time. So, and at the end of our life, what will stand out as most significant, if we think back over the course of our life, are the series of choices we have made. In effect, we are our choices in that sense. So the Dharma Code is a system that was formally, originally intended for kings and queens to make powerful decisions. So the decisions we make, they'll influence our life, they'll influence the life of friends and family and people around us. But a king or a queen, their choices would affect an entire kingdom. That could be hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people. So the sages or rishis of India, they could see that the decision-making of a king or a queen was paramount. And so they developed this ancient system, the Dharma Code, to make powerful choices aligned with our purpose.
I think for... Oh, sorry. Were you going to say more? Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that the principles themselves, truth, purity, non-violence, and discipline, they are actually simply sutras. A sutra in Sanskrit means the tip of the thread. So I guess if you take a contemporary analogy, if you have a roll of tape, we've all had that experience. You have a roll of tape, you're trying to use it for something, but you can't find the end of it.
So annoying.
You use your fingernail. Funnily enough, yesterday I read an article about they calculated the numbers of hours that are lost in people trying to find that.
Oh, they put a team. They put a team on it to calculate. Yeah, good one. All right.
But once you manage to find that tip, you can unroll the tape and use it for anything you want. So in ancient India, they didn't have sellotape.
Yeah.
So they used the idea of a spool of thread.
Well, you British came and changed that, I think. That's right. But let's not go there.
If you can locate the tip of the thread, then you can unravel it, and it can extend maybe for hundreds of yards.
Yeah.
So truth, purity, non-violence, and discipline are simply the tip of the thread. And it's for us in our own life to unravel that and see where it takes us on our journey of yoga or our journey of Dharma. But the rishis, thankfully, have given us some indication of what that tip is to get us started. So truth is the first principle of Dharma, and what an important principle it is. It has many aspects, but one aspect that I always like to focus on is being true to oneself, being true to one's nature. And the reason that's so important is because there are many forces in our society that can easily deviate us from being true to ourselves. Many pressures to be successful in what other people may consider to be successful, or to follow different paths that are not aligned with who we are as a person. I don't know if you've heard of Bronnie Ware. She's a nurse, a palliative nurse.
Mm-hmm.
So she looks after dying patients,
Okay.
patients who are sure to die. It's just a matter of time. What an incredible person. She not only looks. She thought, I'm not going to only look after these beautiful people at the end of their life, but I'm going to see if I can learn from them as well.
Oh, yeah.
Surely they have something that they can teach me, having lived a full life. And so she began asking them, what in your life do you think went really well? Do you have any regrets? And she was surprised. There was one regret that came up again and again and again. The number one regret of dying patients was, I wish I'd had the courage to be true to myself.
Oh, wow.
Rather than to live the life that others expected of me. Mm-hmm. How powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
Truth is. I mean, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells the warrior Arjuna, it is better to live your purpose and perish than to follow someone else's idea of success, even if you perform that perfectly.
Wow.
And why is truth so powerful? Because truth is self-sustaining. You can kick truth around as much as you like, it'll retain its shape. But a lie or a falsehood needs to be protected. And that requires a lot of effort. You kind of conceal the lack of truth in one place, and it reveals itself somewhere else.
Yeah, it's hard work. It's hard work.
Hard work, yeah. But if we can build our life on truth, the life we build is supported by the universe itself. Mm-hmm. So I love how you're emphasizing the principle of truth in the work that you're doing with design and branding. I think that's paramount.
It has a certain application in why it is done the way that we try to do it as much as we can, and we're growing into this with each project. But it is really to give our clients the tools and pretty much the courage to really step into their own light, or in other words, to really own their individuality, their own personality. I mean, it's called personal branding, and we're trying to take that to a new level, because that is also the only way that you can truly differentiate yourself on an otherwise very noisy internet, where lots of people may offer similar services or products as you're doing. That's what I tell my clients. So how do you differentiate? Are you going to compete on price? Are you going to compete on how comprehensive or how beautiful it is? Or how are you going to differentiate? And I find that really what is the most effective way is to really have the courage to own your own uniqueness, who you are. And in that way, you're actually also going to attract people that your message is resonating with, and they feel attracted to working with you in the way that you do things, and therefore you attract a very nice clientele or ideal clients, or as we call them. And we find that that's really the only effective way that I believe in, that I feel is going to really become more and more used. We see this in America a lot, or we see it with authors, or we see it with movie stars, or like music bands and singers and songwriters. Sorry, how they have their personal brand. That is really what is the product. Even we take the example of Oprah, or we take the example of Deepak Chopra. Their brand is highly, they are their brand. Mm-hmm. And everything that you come to see or receive or come in touch with, it always reminds you of the person that you've had a nice experience with, or that you learned something from, and therefore you trust the products they produce or they sell you. So personal branding, how do you do it? We've had this interview with Vasant, and he explains, well, it's not so much dressing up an existing something or
Yeah.
putting some lipstick on, like an external layer that we apply with the idea to sell more. That's one type of branding, but it's not the type of soul shine branding, as we call it, that we believe in. And it also doesn't necessarily apply the Dharma principles, as you just started explaining. So what we really want to do is to have a holistic approach to branding, to go really deep, who you truly are, what is your real reason for showing up, so to say, and what is the kind of natural gift that you can share with the world that we are completely 100% sure of. There's somebody there that will benefit from what you're about to share. And that process I love. But for that process, even though I can intuitively walk this path with a client, but to have a system that is, you know, substantiated with research and tools, etc., that is so much more powerful. And I find it very pleasurable to be working this way, and so do clients.
Well, what's very exciting, I think, is that not only will your clients be deeply grateful for the help you give them in their branding and their design, but I think it'll affect all aspects of their life.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, yeah, you're
So,
right. Well, that's kind of my hidden agenda, to make people's lives also a little bit nicer. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm really good at that, but if I can surround myself with very, you know, knowledgeable and talented and driven and passionate like yourself, you say that you get up in the morning really with a passion to share this knowledge, this information, these tools in a way that's relevant to people where they are in life and work.
yeah, you call it soul shine branding. It's like sunshine for the soul.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
It's, you know, you prepare your soul to shine. It's like there's so many ways we can go about this, but it's truly about, you know, understanding that you are unique and you are beautiful and you are enough and complete if you know how to find and draw from the source, and how to connect and stay connected with that. And there's ways, like you expressed, you described the rishis of ancient India. They spent years and more than years in meditation, in deep meditation, and connecting with the source of it all, and trying to find answers to the world's problems, or to the world's, you know, challenges that are there and that are still there around us. And our own lives are filled with challenges on a daily basis. And I find what you described in your book as the altering of our perception. You speak of the law of perception, and I found it so amazing, because what you're saying is that the design principles, they can, or the Dharma Code, they can function as a set of powerful design principles by which we can not alter the object of what we're perceiving, but that what we're altering is at the very where perception takes place, our core essence. It's not the eye that sees, but it's the. So maybe you can explain a little bit about that, because I found it so amazing and so interesting.
Yeah, it's a very it's a fascinating concept, and very powerful one as well. The teachings were designed originally for kings and queens, but the idea was not that they would then. Well, the idea was that they would embody those principles within their own being, within their own life, and as a natural result of that, the territory that they were ruling, their kingdom, would flourish. So it would then naturally manifest outside, having been embodied within.
Mm-hmm.
So initially when I came across the teachings of Dharma, I wondered, well, you know, I'm not a king, I'm not a queen. How does this apply to me? Does it have relevance? But we're actually much more like kings and queens than we might at first imagine. We each do have a territory, and that territory is our perceptual world, our life. Our life will never be better than the design principles we use to create it. And so these four principles of Dharma are powerful design principles that, if they're put into action together, they lead to transformative outcome within us, and then as a reflection of that in the world in which we live.
Phenomenal, amazing. When I read it, I was blown away, because I like design. You know, whatever we may, you know, say that what that is, what it means. You know, of course, I design my life. I know I design my own perceptual world by making the choices that I do, and hence the title, the subtitle of the book, Making Enlightened Choices. by using the Dharma Code, using the Dharma Principles, and thereby I'm not just manipulating the world to make the world of objects around me to suit my own whim, basically, because that changes from day to day or as I go through life, but that I'm really trying to control or take responsibility for myself and how I perceive the world, so that if you change the way you look at things, the things that you see will change. There's a famous saying. So I'm really taken by that, and also how to apply this in design.
Without that, it's interesting because without that kind of inner work that we're speaking about, we can make as many changes in the external world as we want, but it will always remain a reflection of our state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why we find people who perhaps have generated a lot of wealth, but they remain deeply unhappy.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because everyone tells you that you'll be happy if you have $1 million or whatever, and then when you reach there, it's like, is this it? I don't like the view here. Yeah. So interesting. I find it beautiful. I mean, these are very inspiring, and I thank you really for the book that you've produced, and it's been doing well. It's now available in Spanish, I hear, as well.
It is, yeah. It's just come out as a Kindle book in Spanish. The print edition, the hard copy edition will come in due course.
Okay.
And it's being translated now also into Lithuanian and into Polish.
Nice. Well, I'll make sure to include links. If people are interested, they can check out the book, as well as your website, bookofdharma.com. I did want to mention briefly about an upcoming workshop that you're doing. I just got the website here in front of me. You're coming to Amsterdam. Actually, you're visiting our humble home. And
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And so we'll have nice chats, etc. And there's a little work as well, or play, or Dharma, sharing if you like. There's a place called Delight Yoga in Amsterdam, delightyoga.nl. I'll include the link, and you'll be giving a workshop about the yoga principles for enlightened choices, about the Dharma Code. So this is very exciting. I want everyone to check out the page and see if this is for you, if you have the time. I'm very excited to be there and to see, to experience the workshop. And I also want to mention that we're considering a second workshop the day after, which will happen in Haarlem, where I live. And we're just arranging some sort of an idea, some sort of a location. It's all very convenient and close by, and also quite casual in a way. But we'll make more announcements as information becomes available. I think for now, I want to really thank you. Perhaps there's something you want to add in relation to maybe the workshop, etc., that you're doing.
Maybe just quickly to state that the workshop at Delight Yoga is for anyone.
Yeah.
There won't actually be any yoga practice, so no asanas. It's just comfortable clothes.
Just your normal asana, like you're doing, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, just the normal asana, the seated asana. And if it's a subject that interests viewers, I would love to meet you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much again for this chat. We'll be sharing this with our audience, with our readers and newsletter subscribers. So again, very excited about the work that you're doing, that we'll be doing, and excited to have you here in August. So thanks for now, and make sure to be in touch.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, Haribol.
Haribol.